Welcome back once again to Shooting Womp Rats. I'm Daniel.
I'm done.
And I am no longer broadcasting while in motion or hidden in a secret Imperial bunker.
Right, he's upgraded. It's a rebellion bunker now. With small children, a dog, you know. Actually, you have running water now.
That's right.
Real quickly, how's that bathroom?
Dude.
Loving it?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Yeah. Daniel had some work done in his bathroom. Had a small long-term leak, was it, sir?
Yes.
Just a little bit, yeah. Well, that's all taken care of. Front door is good. Life is grand.
Thankfully, yes.
Good things on my end, too. So, fantastic. All right. Anyway, we're shooting Womp Rats, and we're going to talk D6 today, right?
Well, I'd like to hope so.
All right. Well, let's move on into the news then, Daniel.
Okay, start off with your posts.
Awesome. This week's Adventure Seed Monday, number 33. Type of mission involved is to intercept, confuse enemy communications. The terrain is going to be a medium tech planet. The complication is going to be a Padawan learner. So it can be set, prior to Rise of the Empire. That can, of course, be changed over to some type of student, maybe even a Force adept of some type. The opposition is going to be an underworld criminal cartel. And we do have a special hazard this week, which will be a legendary bounty hunter. That's right.
Awesome.
Yep, so you can pick or choose your favorite flave of bounty hunter or make one up, but just make sure he's a badass. All right, Character Tuesday 33 is Chirup Mosh. This is a male Chandra fan, techie, and semi-professional gambler. He's a twitchy sentient with a near pathological need to take things apart and put them back together again. A lover of puzzles with heart and bravery that far exceeds his stature. More times than not, a sentient has been surprised when trying to bully Chirup, only to have him push back. So I thought that was kind of cool. Yeah, a little bitty bat creature going, yeah, bring it. You want some of this? That sort of thing. Rumor Wednesday 33, an Outer Rim planet has a secret clone bank being used to create an army for unknown purposes. Ooh, sort of Clone Wars-ish. Planet Thursday number 33 is Permia. This planet suffered a cataclysmic disaster during the Clone Wars when a number of weapons of mass destruction were detonated. No group ever took responsibility, but the lush planet was devastated. It is now a barren world with a Type 4 atmosphere requiring the use of an environmental suit. Though home to 77 million sentients, the tech is only now beginning to make its way back to the industrial level and is ruled by a charismatic leader since the devastation. The Starport provides only limited services. I like this planet. I think there's a lot of role-playing available on that one. So that's it. That's all I've got for the week.
My character of the week was Garrick Face Lauren. He's one of the leaders and eventual commander of Wraith Squadron. He is an actor. He started as a child holodrama actor. Even went so far as to, and he admits that this was the lowest point of his life, that he once sat in the lap of Isan Isard. For those of you who aren't familiar with the expanded universe, she was the person that took over Coruscant after the death of the Emperor. He joined the rebellion shortly after that point, after going into hiding. And he has spent his life drifting, basically, before Wedge recruited him in the Wraith Squadron. He's a very dedicated person. He is also a very consummate actor. He's a method actor. He is their master of disguise. He has disguised himself as an Imperial officer, the captain of a Corellian corvette. And he did it so well, he fooled Warlord Zinj. It just goes to show how well he is at this. He's also a bit of a prankster. I'm sure some of you have heard of Lieutenant Ketch, the Ewok pilot. Well, Face brought him... Yeah. It was Wes Jansen's original idea. He was pitching a joke to Wedge when he said one of the applicants to Wraith Squadron was an Ewok. Face brought him to life by taking a stuffed Ewok with a knife and stuffing it into Wedge's starfighter. Wedge took the Ewok and actually brought Ketch to life by attaching the stuffed Ewok to him while he sat in the cockpit with a black bodysuit.
You know my near pathological dislike of Ewoks, so... Near pathological. It's up there. It really is. I mean, it's up there with, yeah. I kind of put them in the same category as cockroaches, and I hate cockroaches, so...
Oh, yeah.
Bleh. Well, you live down south somewhere. I mean, that's just a staple south of the Mason-Dixie line. I had to explain that to my wife the other day, because there was I can't remember what it was. There was a food show. I know it's off of Star Wars, but a food show, and it was one of those ones where it's like, Restaurant Impossible, and it was just had a bunch of cockroaches in there, and the wife was just absolutely, ah! And I went, baby, that's down the south. I mean, it's a matter, it's a part of living down there. It has to do with temperature and stuff like that. So, anyways, I like the character. So being a child star, I mean, does he hopping on the hoods of cars while holding down a part-time job as a security mall cop, when the paparazzi show up and take pictures?
No.
No? Okay, so he's so obviously it's Star Wars, 'cause he's a well-adjusted, child star. No knocking on banks for crack or shooting people and going to jail. None of that kind of stuff.
The face's only hanging up from being a child actor was the fact that he acted in Imperial propaganda, and that it made him feel guilty.
One would think so, yeah. It's like, hey, you know what? I used to do skits and stuff like that as a kid. I really enjoyed it. The only problem is it was for the the Nazi youth rallies. I feel badly about that. That's kind of what it was like, right? All right then. At that point, I guess we'll head into the all you can eat. Sound good?
Time to belly up to the buffet.
That's right, man. It's my understanding they got dewback ribs today. Rock on! So,
yes.
Bring us our first plate of food, Daniel. What do we got?
Whill from the Rancor Pit is, in conjunction with crmcneill, proposes a force attribute. Will himself has decided for his game to make the force skills based upon a force attribute. This is just like the metaphysics attribute in D6 Space. There aren't really any specifics done yet, but I wanted to go ahead and kind of get out ahead of it because this is actually a fascinating idea. It keeps all of your skills in one place. You can have as many skills as you want, but you'd just be rolling that one force attribute instead of having to roll, a mixture of control and alter and sense to me.
I haven't had a chance to read the posting. I'm looking at it right now. It's got 5 pages of postings on it already. You say you've been keeping up on it already?
Well, I mean, I've been reading through it.
Okay. Well, just give us like the briefness of it then. Just what is the basic idea here? I mean, you say keep it down to one force attribute, like metaphysics out of space.
I'm quoting straight out of the thread, and this will be linked up on the blog.
Blag?
This will be linked up on the blog.
The blag?
I wanted to quote from the thread itself. I wanted to simply simplify the force rules of my game to make them more based upon other existing rules when possible. It seems intuitive from a D6 perspective to give the 3 force skills an attribute instead of being free-floating skills. And a force attribute would indeed explain how some film characters seem to be born with more force ability without training and a power level beyond what their amount of training would indicate. CR mentioned in the thread about Luke destroying the Death Star, with Luke possibly having 6 or 7 die in a force attribute. Film canon characters are not PCs, so they are not limited to only having 18 die in attributes. A force attribute would cost the same as any other attribute, regardless of how many of the 3 force skills you start with. You could still have 17 die in normal attributes just to get 1 die in the force attribute. But if you really wanted to start out more powerful, you could have a starting value higher of 1 die at the same cost attribute dice to allocate to other attributes. Then how many force skill die you have above your attribute depends on how many skill die you allocate to them, like any other skill.
Huh. So he's talking about using skill dice instead of attribute dice, or a combination of both? I didn't quite understand that.
He's talking normal attributes, the attribute dice at first, and then he talks about it is attribute dice.
Okay.
If you really wanted to start out more powerful, you could have a starting value higher than 1 die at the same cost attribute dice to allocate to other attributes. In other words, what I'm getting from this is that he's talking about during character creation, you could allocate some of your enough into your force attribute to give you just enough to be force sensitive, or you could throw more in there out of that 17 die.
I don't know. I'm going to have to revisit this and take a closer look at it.
I concur. This is something we'll be bringing back in the future, definitely.
Yeah, I want to pursue this. And like I said, it's gotten quite a bit of traction on the Rancor Pit forums. Like I said, 5 pages of posts since the 24th. So that's pretty doggone good. So that means that there's a lot of people discussing it. I don't know. For some odd reason, I just did not read this posting or did not keep up on it. Silly me. That'll teach me. So anywaysers, what else we got, Daniel?
crmcneill, once again, hot at it for the Rancor Pit. He proposes changes to the rules as written on anti-orbital battles. While capital ship weaponry lists orbital ranges in the 150 kilometer range, the ranges for all planet-based anti-orbital weaponry is measured in space units. Since there's no direct conversion ratio from space units to kilometers, he proposes that under these circumstances only, space units be equal to 100 kilometers, so that anti-orbital weaponry can convert their ranges to match those of capital ships. This is in no way an endorsement of space units being equal to 100 kilometers in general, only in this particular circumstance.
100 kilometers per space unit. So does that mean while a ship is above a planet, it essentially has...
It is one space unit.
Short range to shoot its weapons on a planet for bombardment?
Yeah.
Ouch. I don't know. That seems pretty...
Well, it take into mind scale, too. Now, you're not going to be necessarily aiming a planetary defense ion cannon at a freighter, not without some severe difficulty. Now, in the case of the Star Destroyers, it also explains how the rebels were so easily to smack the Star Destroyers with that ion cannon during the evacuation off.
Okay, I'm with you so far.
Rules as written states that a ship is considered in orbit once it reaches 50 kilometers. Now, the real-life number for low Earth orbit is around 160. He proposes that any starship wishing to remain in orbit at an altitude between 50 and 150 kilometers is required to make at least a cautious move every round or they begin to fall out of orbit.
Okay, I'm with it so far.
I am with it as well. To facilitate and simplify service versus orbital combat, all starships are presumed to have sufficient drive strength to hold in geosynchronous orbit over a target. Raw states, rules as written, states that a ship is considered in orbit once it reaches 50. Now, he proposes that any starship wishing to go below 150 kilometers receives a +5 terrain difficulty modifier for every 25 kilometers below 150 it wishes to fly. Ships with an atmospheric rating may ignore the rules.
Okay.
Now, it's starting to get a little complicated here.
Yeah, it's getting crunchy now.
Yeah. I don't see too much of this happening in your average everyday game.
Yeah, this is, to me, I mean, I appreciate it. And I've had this discussion with CR before. He really likes to crunch naval combat, because, I mean, that's his background, I believe, is he was a retired Navy or something along those lines. And so this is his real focus. He really enjoys this kind of stuff. And he tries to update the rules as written to sort of reflect his knowledge. The only problem I have, and again, I've said this to CR, and I mean, so I'm very comfortable saying this in the podcast, where it's like, man, I appreciate adding that level of crunch to your game, but you're adding rules and complexity to an area of the game that just can be handled with a narration. And on the opposite side, I also understand that he's creating these rules and putting them down because he has aspirations of doing more of a fleet kind of role-playing tabletop mix kind of thing. But I mean, for the normal person, you and me as a game masters, I just narrate this out. It'd be like 1 or 2 rolls, pick a number, and go.
Mm-hmm. Then he gets into the subject of shield generators. He was asking for opinions upon what altitude shields are projected. He believes that full planet shields would be in high suborbit, while localized shields will be no more than a few kilometers off the ground. That makes sense to me.
What are the difference between the two types?
A full planetary shield would be 100 square or high suborbit, while a localized shield, say over a specific building, would be no more than a few kilometers off the ground.
Right. Now, see, I cannot think, and that doesn't mean that doesn't exist. That's just off the top of my head. I can't remember of a planetary shield on a planet. I mean, is there any reference material for that at all, or something?
I think, well, Hoth had a shield.
Yeah, but I took that more of as a base shield.
Yeah,
Like
that was
referring
a
to.
shield. Yeah, that was a building shield, a localized one. Full planetary shielding? I don't think I can think of a single instance of that. Yeah, I could be wrong.
Yeah, see, me too. I mean, I get it. I mean, I understand it, but man, I can't even imagine what the energy expenditure for that would be.
Ugh, I don't even want to think about it.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be like, holy mackerel. So, yeah, I don't know. But anyhow, yeah, continuing on.
Aegis Flashfire from the Rancor Pit, he's listed a tweaked set of skills for his Falling Star podcast/campaign. He's moved 3 piloting skills down to 2. Ships either fly like fighters or like Star Destroyers, Capital or Starfighter. They perform those roles in combat, weaving in and out of the fleet or maneuvering like large flying islands. He wants to take away a capital ship dodge. That I think something as large as a Star Destroyer is going to be really hard to maneuver out of the way of fire.
Yeah, exactly.
But he's not ready to go quite all the way on pulling that trigger. He's consolidated and redistributed the repair skills. Armor repair covers all armor from character scale to Death Star scale. It involves knowledge of ablation and impact absorption. Blaster repair now covers all beam weapons at all scales, including ion cannons and blaster pistols. Starship repair covers the basics. Grav plating, pretty much anything that doesn't fit somewhere else. Sublight repair covers ion engines of any kind, which would cover the ion engine on cloud cars all the way up to the capital ships. But see, not all ships have ion engines.
They don't?
No. TIEs have ion engines, that's definite. But there are fusion engines. I believe a lot of freighters and like things like the bulk freighters have fusion engines.
I didn't realize that.
Hyperdrive repair is just repairing hyperdrives, but it covers starfighters, transports, capital ships. Missile weapon repair covers all torpedo launchers, shoulder-mounted launchers, bowcasters, concussion missile launchers, regardless of scale. Now, I don't think I would consider a bowcaster a missile weapon. It's not a blaster weapon, but I wouldn't consider it to be a missile weapon.
I don't know. I could go either way with it because I mean, it does. The bowcaster kind of is reminiscent of a crossbow.
And then repulsor lift repair covers the repulsors on anything from a droid up to a capital ship.
Huh.
And then underneath that, and of course we'll have this all listed on the blog, is the listing of the new skills and how he's got them redistributed.
On the surface, I like this very much.
He's put a lot of thought into it.
He has, and I tell you what, some of these skills, I think Raw did a really good job, but I mean, there's definitely room for improvement, and the application of skills, as well as the cross-application of skills as well, which is something I'd like to pursue, but just haven't had time lately. Man, I'm hoping that as summer approaches that I don't start, losing my focus and time on some of these projects that I got. I know I've got like maybe 10, 15 projects that are all like on little side burners until I have the inspiration to go back to them. But I mean, that's just what's going on with me. But no, I tell you what, on the surface, I like this very much. I don't know. I really am interested to see where this is going to go. And if he's going to play test this, I'd really like to see, his thoughts and stuff on that.
I agree.
I tell you, hey, Cameron Falkenberg, one of my guys from my Monday night crew. Hey, boys, what's up? Word out, peace! Okay, those guys. I just had to give a hell yeah to my boys. But Cameron has been very gracious lately, throwing up some interesting topic discussions. And let's see, like for example, he had thrown out a question, what are your thoughts on players playing against type?
Yeah.
Like a Wookiee scholar.
Oh, no, actually, it was players playing against their template.
Oh, okay.
A soldier not acting like a soldier.
Oh, so they're not playing within their concept.
Right.
Well, my thinking from a game master, I completely misread that then when I first saw it. I don't like that. I mean, I guess it's one of those things where if it's through role play and the character is changing for a specific reason or over a period of time, that makes sense. But if you come up with a character concept and you throw it down on paper and you go, hey, this is my concept, and then all of a sudden you don't like it, I would think that approach the game master, say, hey, look, you know what, I'm not happy with that. This is the direction I want to go, and see if the GM signs off on it. I usually allow my players, a couple of sessions, 2 or 3 sessions, before they lock in their character concepts. This gives them a little bit of time to kind of like make adjustments, and if they decide, oh, I didn't like this about my character, or I thought it was going to work like this, and it didn't, I didn't have that good a grasp of what those skills encompassed or something like that, I will allow them to go ahead and change it up. But if it's an established character, man, there's got to be a really good reason why you're playing against concept.
Ty brought out a really good point here. Is there's really such a thing as playing against type? So the player selected a scoundrel template, but essentially that's just the idea of who or what the character could be based upon their backstory. They could be whoever they want. That is the way I see it. That's why I don't like the template system unless it's a brand new player. The template system facilitates quick character generation and gets a player into the game. But I have my players, if they're experienced with the system enough, to make up their own concept, and then they play within that concept. Now, if they're role-playing outside of, how they've established their character, that's going to be a time as a GM for me to pull the character to the side and ask, do you want to change things up? Because you give me the concept of a Wookiee criminal, but here he is picking up kittens and saving them from the Empire.
He's got a soft spot for small furries. But I'm sorry. I guess it was referring back to templates. I agree with Ty. Templates are nothing more than a collection of skills and attributes that most individuals of that template type would have access to. Not all of them, but what the majority would have. And as for like a background and personality and stuff like that, that is just fluff. So I mean, most of my players, I have them just tell me, what is a character concept that you'd like to play, and then we make it. So I mean, I never have this problem of playing against concept in quotation marks from a template. Yeah, I can't even actually remember the last time I actually had someone be in one of my games that worked from a template. Now, I take that back. I guess I got a guy that's going to be starting up Thursday in my Thursday morning group that is running off from a template. So, I mean, that'd be an interesting way to start. But I don't think he's going to be using the fluff from it. I think he's just going to add his own and make it his own, unique, his own little snowflake. All right, Daniel, let's go ahead and move ahead from the buffet, and let's go over to, I guess, what do we want to call it, 8mm? Section? No, that sounds too risque. The HoloVid section of our podcast, where we kind of discuss real quickly a movie or a movie concept that we think that would equate to a really good adventure. I've got mine for the week, Daniel. How about you?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I do. It took me a second to remember it. My movie for this week is going to be Repo Man.
Oh, the cyberpunkish one.
Yes.
Well, you gotta go back.
Planet has a thriving market in cloned organs. A single corporation divvies them out to deceased people. Problem is, they come at a price. And if you can't pay the price, the corporation sends your party after them to retrieve the organ or the money.
So they're like bounty hunters.
I would say so, yeah.
Medical bounty hunters.
Except their bounties aren't people.
They're parts. Gotta go collect the parts. I like it. That would be kind of fun. Tell you what, I got mine for this week. You're gonna laugh at me.
Go ahead.
Okay, it's the Blues Brothers.
Da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Yep, exactly. So they're on a mission from God or the Force, whichever one you gotta want to go with. they basically have to contact some old friends that they used to be with and, make this thing happen. And, of course, along the way, they're being chased by the Empire. You're going to have speeder chases and starship chases and stuff like that. I don't know. I thought it'd be kind of fun for a beer and pretzels yell and shout game. Hey, Daniel, I tell you what, man, you've been dropping in and out this afternoon. I understand you got a new internet connection and you probably are working out the bugs. I know that it's going to be a short session today, but I really think that because of technical difficulties, we might just close it up early. What do you think?
Yeah, let's do that. Folks, we love submissions and your questions, your comments. Please feel free to send them to shootingwomprats@gmail.com. You can go to the Tools Forum and on the Rancor Pit, and we've got a thread dedicated to the show there. There's a SWD6 Podcast at Twitter, and then Don and myself can be found on G+, Rancor Pit, and Facebook.
There you go. You didn't drop out this time.
Yay! So on behalf of Shooting Womp Rats, I'm Daniel.
I'm Don.
May the force be with you.
Hey, guys. Sorry for the short podcast this week. We'll make it up to you. Have a great weekend.